it is Keith Davidson at Albertson & Davidson. In this video, I want to talk about the trustee selling homes. A lot of times people will say, I heard my parent tell me and tell everybody that the family home is not to be sold. We're supposed to keep it in the family and pass it down to the grandkids and great-grandkids. And yet the house is being listed and sold. Can the trustee do that? And the first question is, well, what does the trust document say? Because a lot of times people will say things like, I don't ever want the family home sold. But when you go and look at the trust, it doesn't say that. It doesn't have that limitation or that restriction. So the number one problem is if you're going to put a restriction on your assets or your estate, you had better specify that in your trust document, or else it simply will not be enforced. If the restriction's not in the trust, then yes, the trustee can sell it. The trustee is the manager of the trust estate. And if the trustee determines that they need to sell that asset, then they can sell that asset. So that's the first problem. The second problem is if you are going to own real property with other people after your parent dies, how do you get along with these other people? If you're dealing with siblings who you don't get along with and everybody's bickering and fighting over who's going to use the home or whether it's going to be rented out. And if it is rented out, maybe one person is keeping the rents and not sharing with others. Well, that's an absolute nightmare. And you don't want to keep that asset. No matter what the parent said, the parent could say, I want this to stay in the family. That was a bad idea. And really the parent's intention should not be followed because it's going to cause all sorts of problems and lawsuits in the future. And so what you need to do in that case is you need to go in and either negotiate that the property be sold, or you can go to court and force a sale, or after you go to court to force a sale, you can negotiate a deal where maybe a few of the people retain the property and they buy out everybody else. The third problem is, what if the parent needs money from that property for their own care during their lifetime? So if you have a parent who says, I don't ever want the family home sold, but then they have to go into a care facility because they have dementia and they need more support or whatever it is, and the trust doesn't have enough liquid cash to pay for that care, then maybe the home has to be sold and the money has to be used to benefit your parent while they're still alive. That would be a perfectly good reason to sell a house so that your parent is well cared for. But again, if a parent says, I don't ever want the home sold, it can stand in the way of liquidating the home to raise the money to care for the parent. So once again, anybody who says, I don't want something sold ever, you really have to think about the consequences of that. It's a nice thought. It's a nice thought to think, oh, I don't ever want the house sold. I want it to be in my family forever. But then you have to ask yourself, is that really going to work? Are you going to be able to make that work from a practical perspective, or is it going to be more trouble than it's worth? That's where good planning comes in. Plan it out and think about it. If you're a child, though, on the other side of that issue, where this issue has sprung up and it hasn't been well planned for, well, chances are you're probably going to have to go to court and you're probably going to have to force a sale. And within that process of forcing a sale, you'll probably be able to negotiate a deal where you can be bought out and leave the property with the people who want it and get the people who don't want it out of the picture. Albertson & Davidson is here to help you fight for your inheritance. Check out aldavlaw.com for our complete library of helpful legal videos and articles from your favorite California trust and will litigation law firm, Albertson & Davidson, LLP.